Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the New Jersey Devils and why they need to get going now. So before we start talking about them, please make sure to subscribe to me if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So yes, last season proved to be a great year for the New Jersey Devils as they finished with 112 points, which was a franchise record, as well as finishing third overall in league standings behind just the Boston Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes. So things looked really good there, a lot of success for a team that really seemed to be stuck for the majority of the 2010s. And going into this season, especially after a playoff series victory over the New York Rangers in a Timo Meier extension, you are thinking that the possibilities were endless for how well this team could do this season. However, we're looking at a side that at the moment is not top 3 in league standings. They're not top 3 in their conference. They're not even top 3 in their division. And they're not even in a playoff spot right now as the Detroit Red Wings hold 2 points over them in that final wildcard spot. And there's a lot of talk being made about how things aren't looking so hot for the Devils at the moment. As of Valentine's Day, the day that I record this, their playoff hopes sit at 24.7% according to MoneyPuck.com, which is not great because I was one of those guys that really hyped up the Devils last season and said going into this season they were going to be one of the best regular season teams in the NHL. Unfortunately for me and New Jersey, things have not looked like that through 52 games, and now through 30 games, or with 30 games remaining, they have a lot of work to do. So can they do it? Well, it's not going to be easy. Losing a guy like Dougie Hamilton that is a top pairing defenseman for them, he's been out since about November, is not really ideal. Now, it was actually really close to the beginning of December, but still, you catch my drift. He's played 20 games, and that hurts. On top of that, too, injuries have kind of been a big issue for this team, especially looking at Jack Hughes. He missed a good chunk not too long ago. Ended up at this point only playing 36 games, so he has missed a fair bit of time, and that hurts, especially with how hot he started out the year. I'm sure a lot of you remember if you watched the channel that I did a video covering his hot streak to begin the season. On top of that too, they have the third worst save percentage in the entire NHL at time of recording this. It was second until they ended up having a decent performance against the Nashville Predators, so it got a little bit better, but it's still really, really bad. On top of that as well, Timo Meier has had a terrible year this year. In fact, he is coming off of 2 really good seasons, 35 goals and then 40 goals last season, the first 40-goal season of his career. This year, he looks like a totally different player. You look at the stat sheet, things are not looking great there. He's right at about the 20-point mark, and year one is not going to be a thing you get too excited about when talking about his contract for the Devils. That is a problem, especially because you're hoping, considering the fact that he had played on some not so great San Jose teams, maybe he could continue to perform at a high level. We'll see what happens through the rest of this season and then going into next season. And on top of that too, you have the Hockey Canada investigation, which is taking 2 of their players out of their lineup, which it's much bigger than hockey, but at the same time too is just one of these multiple things for the Devils that have seen them face a lot of adversity, which makes their hopes of trying to get to the playoffs in this final 30 games that much harder. So what do they have to do in order to make it to the playoffs? I think 2 things, and they're pretty simple. Win a bunch of games and get better goaltending. So we'll talk about both of those now. So the first thing we can talk about right now is just winning a lot of games. Through the first 52 games this year, the Devils have 27 wins. I'm going to say they realistically, in terms of wanting to make the playoffs, relatively comfortably need 20 wins over their final 30 games, which is going to be relatively difficult. On top of that, too, they need to pick up 5 additional points via shootout, via overtime loss. Whatever you want to, say here, they probably need to go 25-5 or better. That may sound really ridiculous. I know that is a lot to ask for, but that would be 45 points right there out of 60 possible points. That's a lot for points percentage. And 2, you have to factor in with them having 58 points. 58 plus 45 is 103 points. You feel relatively confident you would make the postseason with 103 points as a wildcard team at the very least. But if you dip into the mid-90s or the low 90s, a lot of the time you can kiss your playoff chances goodbye. So New Jersey needs another long winning streak like they had earlier last season, where they ended up having like a 13-game win streak. That's going to have to come back, and it's going to have to come back pronto if they want to be able to make it again to the playoffs. Now, as for the goaltending, I would say that crazily enough, Nico Daws probably looks like their best goalie at the moment. Akira Schmid and Vitek Vanacek have not had great seasons. Dawes has played like 9 or 10 games. I don't remember if he played last night, but looking at this, when you look at all of the 61 goalies that have played 750 minutes or more in the NHL this season, out of all the 61 goalies for save percentage, Schmid ranks 49th and Vanecek ranks 53rd. So, you know, you don't really want to be in that territory if you're talking about 60 goalies basically being 50 or below. There's reasons for both of these guys to be concerned about where things are headed for them. Vanecek probably more so because he has that 3-year deal, and I would say that his security isn't really necessarily there right now. He's injured, and on top of that is just a guy that's had a really rough year. He's allowed 4 or more goals 13 times this season in the 35 games that he's played in. Now there's talk about the Devils possibly even trading to get Jacob Markstrom from the Calgary Flames, which I don't really know if it will guaranteed fix their problems right away, because sometimes goalies are weird. They get hot, they don't. But if you're a guy that is hoping to break out as a younger goalie that saw a lot of success in terms of team success last year, Markstrom coming in kind of ruins that vibe. And while I don't want to say anything bad about either one of these goalies, I do think that, like I said in my season preview, the goaltending had the potential to really wreck this team's season at the moment. I think that has been a big contributor here. So I would say the Devils absolutely have every right in the offseason to look at whether or not they want to change the situation in net, and probably even before then. So there's that. But I do have a final talking point that I did forget to talk about. And that final talking point is just New Jersey taking care of teams that are around them. They have 30 games left, and they have a lot of divisional games. About a third of their games are divisional matchups. And you have, again, teams like the Islanders, Penguins, Capitals, Lightning, and then I don't think they play the Red Wings at all in this stretch, but still a lot of teams that are right there with them. You need to be able to beat those teams, especially so when you end up beating them in regulation, they come away empty-handed. On top of that, too, I think a very big matchup that we're going to see here over their final 30 games only happens 3 times, but boy is it important. They play the Maple Leafs on 3 occasions. Now Toronto is above the Red Wings in the wild card standings right now, and who knows, maybe they'll flip-flop with Tampa Bay. I'm not exactly sure how things will play out over this final almost second half of the year, but either way, looking at this, 10% of your remaining games are against one team, a team that's relatively close to you in the standings. They have a back-to-back against the Leafs in April. I want to say actually March, excuse me. No, I was right. It was April. And those are games you want to take as many points out of as possible. And that is why the Devils have a lot of work to do. But I look at this and I say that this team has got a lot of talent. They can make things happen. They need young guys to step up. They need their talent to appear or just, play really, really good hockey over this final 30 games. And on top of that, too, again, the goalies have to be better, whoever is in net for them. However, I do think that I will say, regardless of if New Jersey makes the playoffs or doesn't this season, I do think that they're going to be a candidate for a resurgent season next year and could surprise a lot of people. They are 9th for goals for per 60, and they have the 4th or 5th lowest, scoring chances against per 60. So a lot of goals are scoring, a lot of chances they aren't allowing compared to other teams in the league. So really, this is a team that has a good power play. It has a PK that is probably deserving to be better than what it's been. And again, a lot of this comes down to what are they going to do in the offseason. So anyway, what are your thoughts on the Devils? Did they make the playoffs? Did they miss the playoffs? Are they better than what they look like? Do you think that they will be a team to bounce back in the next season? Let me know all that stuff down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And Eagle of Hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.